Hi, I'm Dan Dietz, and today I'm going to go into more depth of what happens in the EMDR intensives and how is it different than standard protocol or cognitive behavioral therapy or DBT. Like, how is it addressing something more than or different than maybe what you've done before or for the last 20 years? I meet a lot of people who have trauma and they've done therapy, and it just seems to reinforce this belief of, well, maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I'm not meant to be in relationships, or maybe I'm just not good enough. And I understand it can feel broken because the same pathways are getting activated in your brain. So we really need to combine neuroscience, body-based therapies, like to get it out of that fight, flight, freeze part of your brain. And I like to think of the brain as a snowman. So the very top of the brain is our highest and best. Like, so the head of the snowman, it's when we're at our best. Maybe we've already gotten life skills, like I know I'm supposed to take deep breaths or walk away or use my assertiveness tools, not get hooked by, people being manipulative or emotionally blackmailing me. And yet, in the belly of the snowman is all the programming. So this is the stuff from your childhood, and it's why you survived your childhood. Okay, I need to be a perfectionist, or it's not okay to make mistakes. I shouldn't have any needs because they're not going to get met, and that's really scary as a child. Maybe I'm not good enough because the only time I get praise is when I'm not being a bother or when I'm excelling in a way that my parent can take credit for it. Those of you who are raised by narcissistic parents. So I'm going to go through the different layers. First, we address the physical body. So we need to stabilize the nervous system. It's the foundation of everything. So learning how to soothe and release in the body, know what your signals are, and I'll walk you through steps to teach you that. On all of these stages, the amount of time that it takes for you is just dependent on what are your previous skills and how ingrained are those. So first we establish safety in the body and in the now moment. And then we can start to regulate the emotional circuits, find space to, in a sense, like hold those scared kids or comfort them. We then start to address the mental body, the thought processes. It's likely that those thought processes will lose their grip because there's a different felt sense in the body. So let's bring that home for a second. So if we feel a certain way, like if you feel slighted by somebody, it's really hard to convince yourself that that's just a thought pattern or you're mistaken for some reason because you feel it, right? But it can be confusing. Is that your intuition? Is that your all-knowing body, which we also work on developing? That's another layer. Is it that your spidey senses are working? Or is this based on your programming? And that can be so frustrating. It can be hard to navigate life and relationships and make decisions that you can trust in yourself when you're not connected in that way. So we'll work through some processes to help that mental body get more clear, which then also leaves space for developing intuition, so that all-knowing feeling in your body. This was a game changer for me. So a little bit about my story is I was raised by a narcissistic, alcoholic parent, and our family was white picket fence from the outside, and I bought into the high achieving, go to college and get the house and establish your life, but then really feeling empty and, what's it all for? Which then brings me to the next level, the spiritual level, developing what is your purpose? Being able to feel who you are at the core, like the essence of you. So for some of you, you'll call that your spirit. And if spiritual is intimidating to you, we'll dance around it in the way that it can be supportive for you and yet not, push beliefs on you. You don't have to have any belief system, but we're going to connect you to you. And the more spiritually resourced you are, the easier that can be for you. So whether that's shamanic practices or teaching you how to journey or connect to spirits, your guides, guardians, or directly to God, in your own way, that you feel your purpose. And that also becomes a beacon of light, or a lighthouse for you to guide your life by. It's from the inside out. So traditional therapy, when we do cognitive behavioral therapy or DBT is awesome for life skills and can help us have reference of, like, how do I manage a particular situation? But if you don't have that connection from within, then think of it, you could make a vision board or set goals, even daily goals, and that you're going to be at the end of the day and say, like, well, what is it all for? Because if it's not connected to who you are and what you truly need in your life, then it's not going to feel satisfying. Okay, so the physical body, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body, and the all-knowing, the intuition, to get a sense of yourself. Those are the different layers that we're going to work on so that trauma is cleared from all those layers and not just shifting the mental. So traditional EMDR is great for shifting those automatic negative thoughts, the I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve, or I'm a mistake, I'm not lovable. It's great for that, and we will weave in traditional EMDR for just a layer of it. But then we need to address from many angles so that you can finally clear your trauma. And this is the journey I had to take. It was, 10 years of therapy in my 20s, and it gave me great life skills. It gave me great awareness. And then in my early 30s, doing reparenting and really trying to develop that nurturing towards myself. But until I truly cleared the trauma out of my body, there wasn't really room for, and it didn't seem true, right? It's like, well, I know I'm worthwhile, but it doesn't feel good. Or I know I'm safe now. I know I now have choices, but I just can't seem to get myself to do it. And that's where I discovered these other layers, and that's what I've woven into therapy with others, particularly for the last 10 years, just really dove in, but it developed prior to that. So if you feel like this is the type of therapy that you need, then go ahead and contact me. And I have a webpage, hearthealing.org. There's an intensive page that has some details. The truth is, we won't know what your exact, like how we're going to do this. Of course, I have a plethora of tools that I choose from, but we're not really going to know how we're going to move through these stages until I see how does your nervous system respond, or what's the persistence of some of these mental patterns that got stuck in there, or what is your openness or availability to the spirit world. And some people have had zero experience, just all of a sudden link there, and it becomes very familiar. So it's hard to predict without seeing you in your work. But what I can say is that for most people, it's between 15 to 30 hours before they're really so 5 or 10 intensives before they're really feeling like they're on a roll. And then for some people, it is longer. I mean, if you've been living with dissociation and you're not in your body, then those patterns are going to take longer to create in your brain. And that's the difference, is we need to get your brain to create new wiring so that your brain prunes off the old stuff. But if we're continuing to get triggered, even though we know better, then we don't create those new pathways. So with this formula, I have found the biggest change for people. So again, if it feels right, go ahead and contact me and we'll take it from here. Let you enjoy the background. There were some ducks there a moment ago. Sometimes a heron or eagle. Good to take time to chill, huh?